Okay, so yes, so this is a great show. We're going to be talking a lot about mariachi this time around.
Yes.
We talked a lot about mariachi last week, with Mr. Juan Ortiz. But this week we're going to be talking about the Austin scene of mariachi.
Yes, we're migrating now from San Antonio to Austin.
Yeah, Austin. So, a lot of people consider, San Antonio the mariachi mecca. That's like the big mariachi town everywhere in Texas and all that.
Yeah.
Which, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of mariachi musicians, a lot of mariachi history in San Antonio. But there's also some great mariachi history in other cities, specifically like Austin. Mm-hmm. In Austin, like we heard last week from Juan, the pioneering work that he and Bel Ortiz did in getting mariachi into schools in San Antonio and all that kind of stuff. Well, that trickled all over.
Yeah.
And in Austin, that trickled to Z Castro.
Yeah.
Z Castro's the one that started mariachi program in Austin. And Alex was one of his students. Alex learned mariachi from Z Castro through that school. So I'm sure he'll tell us more about that when we talk to him and all that. He'll give us more about that history. But that kind of got the Austin scene started. I'm trying to think about what groups are in Austin right now. Is Relámpago still in Austin, right?
Yeah, Relámpago is still in Austin. Let me see. Obviously, Mariachi Amor. Then we have...
That's Alex's group.
The Alex, yeah. And there's other small groups.
Is there Estrella, Mariachi Estrella? Is that
I don't think that one's
around?
still around. I'm
They're
not too
around
sure.
anymore?
No, I don't think so.
And then some of the other ones that play in... The other ones are kind of small groups.
Yes.
That play still here and there. But the big one is Estrella and Amor, right?
Relámpago and Amor.
I'm sorry. Relámpago and Amor.
Yeah, Relámpago and Amor. Relámpago is known, I think, because they have their planta. Oh, and then I think there's mariachi. There's like small, honestly, I think with the Austin groups, they're usually smaller. I think there is one Mariachi Los Toros, and they're usually like a quartet.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a smaller group. I think Mariachi Los Toros. But the only reason why I say Relámpago, because I think they still have a planta. Azul Tequila. Okay. That's the last time I heard. I know there is not like a chain, but there's a Latina business owner. Her name is Gabriela, and she owns 5 big restaurants in Austin, and they're famous restaurants because Taquero Mucho, which is all pinked out. She owns Malavida, which is a Latino nightclub on 6th Street. She owns Sirenas. Malavida, okay. Which is pretty fun. Been there, so shout out to her. Okay. I would love to meet her. She's a DJ and she's an owner. She owns that. She owns this place called Sirenas, I think that's in North Austin. And all of these places, she either DJs, but I know Sirenas particularly and Gabriela South Austin, they have on Thursdays they have mariachis. And I think they have Mariachi Los Toros there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I don't know how many people know a planta is like a regular gig that a mariachi has. They're planted there, planta, that's their their home base. And they get a lot of gigs from their plantas because obviously people go to this restaurant, see them play, and they like their music and they pass out cards. And
it's a good way to network. It's a good way to network, especially for future clients. If they want to be I want to hear your group in person. So you come to our planta, you can hear us there.
It's like a live business card.
Yes.
Come check it out.
Yeah, very much live business card. And it's always good because it's live music. Because Austin is the capital of live music, right? Of the world?
That's what that's what they say, or that's what they tell me. It is. It is. But there's a little bit of
exaggeration.
Well, exaggeration in a way, but it's yes, there's live music all the time in Austin, but because of the saturated nature of so many bands trying to play in a limited amount of clubs and all that, because it's so saturated that actually bands are very underpaid. Because it's just too many. Yeah. So many bands. So live capital, yes, but so many musicians are just underpaid for their work because it's just so saturated, and that's one of the problems.
Talking about saturated, first of all, because we kind of hinted it here or there, everybody's moving to Austin, right? Everybody's They're from out of town, from California, and Austin is basically becoming the next LA type thing.
Yeah.
And traffic is horrendous. Traffic is horrendous. And this week, well, no, not this week. Shoot.
Yeah, no, it's coming up.
It's South by Southwest.
Oh, yeah. Well, that happened last month.
Yes, South by Southwest happened last month, and traffic, you can't even get anywhere. Because there's so many performances going on, and Austin is now becoming kind of like a little Silicon Valley with all these tech jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's live music, it's Elon Musk, it's Indeed moved here. TikTok has a headquarters in Austin. Google, they made that new Google building.
Yeah, no.
It's
Austin,
a whole tech valley.
Yeah.
Saturation.
The city of Austin. This has nothing to do with Latino de todo or anything like that, but the city of Austin decades ago kind of knew this whole thing was coming. Mm-hmm. And they had the opportunity back then to build a better highway infrastructure.
And they didn't?
And they did not.
Shut up.
And so now that's why you have these huge traffic jams, and traffic in Austin is just horrible. And they knew it was coming. They knew it was coming. When Dell moved into North Austin, they knew that was coming. They didn't foresee it. They we can't spend that money because there's no guarantee, but they knew it was coming. And now it's just a traffic nightmare.
And then now with all the, not only like we said, tech, music, festivals, like what is it? The ACL. That's basically what Coachella, right? Coachella in Texas.
Yeah.
Do you know what Coachella is?
No.
Coachella is
ACL is Austin City Limits, the Austin City Limits Festival, right?
Yeah, and Coachella is this really big music festival that they bring. Well, ACL is kind of like a mini Coachella, so that's just
What is it called?
Coachella.
Okay, I thought you said Punchella. No, it's Coachella.
Coachella.
Like Coach?
Like Coach.
Like, but is it sponsored by Coach?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not sponsored by Coach, but it's just called Coachella. What was I saying? I forgot.
It's all right. We need to get back to Mariachi anyway.
I hate my brain.
That's all right. So back to Mariachi.
It was a good conversation about Austin.
we were going into some Austin stuff. We'll have to bring that up. Yeah. Maybe we'll bring somebody from Austin at an episode later on, and we'll really get into the nitty gritty.
Well, I don't know if this ends up in the podcast or not. We can edit it out. If we can somehow land an interview with Gabriela, that girl, that would be crazy.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome to kind of work our way. Because again, she's a DJ. She's a business owner. She's just opening a restaurant in Houston. So she's pretty cool.
All right.
But let's bring it back.
So now we'll start here.
Yes.
So getting back to Mariachi, the one thing I want to hear, because, obviously you were a student at Texas State University when you came in the fall of 2014. You came from Fort Worth, because I was one of the ones that recruited you. Yeah. Recruited you to come here and all that. And you're the one that brought Alex Ramirez to the table for the interview we're going to have today. So, the connection you made with him is because you played in his group. Yeah. For a while, right?
Yeah, I played in his group.
But what I want to know, something that I've always wanted to know when students get out there, is how did you get started playing in local groups? Like when you came from Fort Worth, you didn't know anything around here. Mm-hmm. So what was the first group outside of the Texas State Mariachi that you played in? How'd you make that connection, and how'd you get into all that?
Well, my first group that I worked in. Well, first of all, let's coming to Texas State. I didn't have a car, so that's already detrimental because you have to go to tocadas, you have to go to gigs, you have to drive there, and we were talking about Austin, bunch of traffic. I didn't have a car, and to be quite honest, I don't know how it started, but the first group I actually started playing with was in San Antonio.
What were they called?
Damas de Jalisco.
Damas de Jalisco. So all-female group.
All-female group, yes.
Right. I'm familiar with them.
Yeah. So I started playing with Damas de Jalisco through Sonia Marin. She messaged me, I think.
Sonia Marin.
Yes, Sonia Marin. And she messaged me on Facebook or whatever, and she just contacted me. I had a roommate, my freshman dorm roommate, which we will not speak of her name. because that's a whole different story.
Okay. Another podcast story. Nightmares, roommate nightmares.
Oh my gosh.
Don't make that one.
She put a tape down the middle of the room.
Yeah. That's nice.
No, it's not. So she ended up taking me to San Antonio, and I ended up gigging there. I think I didn't gig too much with them because it was a hassle. Going from San Marcos to San Antonio, even though it's close, it's not that close.
Yeah.
It's not that close. And without a car. And then...
It's about an hour away.
Oh, yeah.
And San Antonio has its share of traffic.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It has a share of traffic. And it takes like an hour just to get to like North San Antonio.
Right.
Yeah. So it takes a while. And I do believe it was through Israel Alcalá that I ended up, he was playing with the group, and he ended up saying, hey, I think they need a violin player. And he would give me rides to gig, and we worked with Mariachi Estrella.
That's how so you play with Mariachi Estrella?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the very first group that I went in.
In Austin.
Good. Yeah, Mariachi Estrella. And it was carpooling. That's how I got to gigs and stuff. Year 2, I told my parents, I was like, I really need a car. And I was able to purchase my car through scholarship money. It was a used car. And then I started gigging and venturing out and freelancing. I went to this group and I went to that group, and then I was freelancing, and then I found Alex. And honestly, it was a while back. I really don't even know how it started. But I found Alex, good people. It was always fun. Lots of fun stories of craziness. I loved Alex's gigs because the locations we were hired to play in were like extravagant.
Yeah.
Like I remember playing in like some huge weddings, like some huge beautiful weddings, like in the hill country, a lot of Dripping Springs, a lot of like downtown Austin stuff, and yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go out to West Austin, Northwest Austin, Extreme West Austin, all that. Man, we're talking some
Bel Air,
money,
Beverly Hills type thing.
I mean, that's where like when you hear like celebrities that live, like Matthew McConaughey and all that, that's where they live.
And Sandra Bullock?
That's where all of them live. When they moved to Austin, they moved to that extreme west part of Austin, which is real nice communities and all that. So you guys would do gigs out there?
We would do gigs out there, and like I remember we did this one gig. We did it in Westlake Hills. By the way, Westlake High School produces a lot of NFL players.
Yeah.
And we were playing out there, and we don't have mountains in Texas, but we have hills, and that's the hill country. That's part of the hill country. And it was this beautiful home, and we were outside the pool. Again, unfortunately, in Austin, we tend to be background music.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't care about background music. I was just enjoying the view.
Yeah.
And we played out, and it was a pool, and there was like a fence, and we were playing over there by the fence. Meanwhile, everybody's mingling and stuff like that, and we're just seeing basically all of Austin and like the river, and it was gorgeous. We were on a hill. Yeah. Beautiful stuff.
Well, I mean, to what you were saying about background music, I mean, that is what it is. Those gigs are what they are.
Yeah.
You're hired for a specific role. Mm-hmm. And so it's different from having a concert, putting on a mariachi concert. Everybody's paying tickets to come and watch the mariachi. So, when you're hired to do that, that's a specific role, and it is what it is. But you get paid well for those.
Oh, my gosh, yes. We would get paid super well. And that was another thing, because coming from Fort Worth, where the average was, let's say, like 50 an hour? 50 an hour? Well, it's not. It just depends who you gig with. 50, it can go up to 60, 70. But it wasn't until I got to Austin where, like, the minimum was, like, a good 60. And then the max was, like, an 80 an hour.
80 an hour?
Yeah, got paid well.
All the times I was gigging with salsa bands in San Antonio, we made $60 for the gig. And we played from 10 o'clock at night until 2 in the morning. 4 hours.
No.
And we made $60.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. So
no.
Mariachi is much more profitable.
Yeah.
Well, salsa bands, mariachis are more mobile.
Yes.
So you guys can do an hour here, get in your cars, go drive and do another hour, get in your cars, drive somewhere else, do another hour. So you can do those kinds of things. Salsa bands really can't.
Yes.
Because of how much PA they use and the equipment they use. Once they set up, they're like at the park.
Yeah.
So it's a different beast.
Like you, when you have your drum set.
Yeah. I'm not moving that thing more than once.
No, like setup, you have setup, and then after that you have to play, and you get hired for multiple hours too.
Yeah.
You know, we get hired for mariachi. It's like, okay, we have a serenata, then we have 1 hour birthday here. Oh, you have a 2 hour wedding reception. Okay, then you have to go close out a party, you know. Oh, and then you have another hour, and I
guess the drawback is you have to drive to all these gigs. So you're always in the car driving to the next gig.
Yeah, and like I remember in DFW, not here in Austin, I would have to drive my own car or I carpooled with somebody, but I like driving. In DFW, we always had like a van.
Okay.
A van, and
like the group had a van.
Like the group had a van, or the owner of the group has a van, and he drives us all. And so obviously he gets a little bit more cut because that's his vehicle, you know, his or her vehicle. But I always worked with males, so it was his vehicles. And
so when you were playing with the Mariachi Amor, when you're playing with Alex's group, he's the leader, right?
Yes.
Is he the musical director and? He's also like the gig getter. He's the one who gets the gigs.
Yeah, so that's always so nice because that's what's good about working with somebody that you just show up. You know, and I props to him because getting gigs, getting networks, putting out your business. You're a marketer, you're a business manager, and then you still have to play. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he'll talk more about that when we interview him because that's a big thing that he does. When you're a band leader and you're doing that, you have to wear all those hats. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even get paid extra for wearing those hats.
Yeah, no.
But you're wearing those hats so that you can have a group because you love playing in a group. So yeah, that's going to be cool to get to know more about that side. And one thing I'm going to be looking forward to asking Alex about, and I'm sure he's going to talk a lot about it, is I know that he was involved in those big mariachi concerts that went on in Austin in the 90s. There was some big mariachi concerts. They brought in some big names and all that. I don't know much about that at all. I just know that he was highly involved deeply involved in that. And so I want to hear a lot more about that, his experiences with that, because, you know, I put on some events here at Texas State University with the mariachi, and so I know how much goes into those, and I know how involved it is, and how hard it is, and how much time it takes. So, and I was doing it, you know, for the university, which there's a lot of cushion I had because the university provides some funding for it. But he was on his own. Yeah, you go out and do it as a professional. Yeah, and that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, and the groups that he brought, big scale groups, you know. Having to navigate through that. And then I know he's going to talk a little bit more about his story, particularly with the Paramount Theater. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
So, well, anyway, I guess we should go and get going with Mr. Alex Ramirez. Looking forward to talking to him.
Yes.
All right. Good. So we'll be back with Mr. Alex Ramirez.